So I finally have had enough of Megyn Kelly. As disgusted as I have been watching her ever since the Republican primaries last summer, I've finally come to the realization that I can't watch her show at all anymore, regardless of who's on. I just can't deal with it anymore. And I'm so tired of the Fox News Network dropping the ball this election cycle and helping to get Hillary Clinton elected. Those of us that are conservatives, we expect Fox to be a station that presents the news with a conservative slant because there are so many other stations that present a liberal point of view. Fox has failed us miserably. With the exception of Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, there is nothing else on that station that is worth watching. And if Trump loses this election, I'm done with Fox. I'll never watch that station ever again. Lately, I've been tuning into OAN, One America News. I don't know how many people get access to that or don't. I get it on Fios. I understand that some cable providers don't provide it. You may want to start looking for it or asking your cable provider to add that channel to your lineup, because I have had it with Fox, and I know a lot of you have as well. I usually like to just speak on the cuff and let my thoughts flow, but I got so much on the table today that I have a couple of bullet points I want to go over, so I'm going to look at my notes a couple of times, and I want to talk about a couple of things that are on my mind right now. First of all, I'm tired of the news media being 99% Democrat, liberal, doing everything they can to be Hillary Clinton's propaganda machine. It sucks. It really does. They're masquerading as journalists, and they're presenting us a lot of dog shit, presenting it as news. I've had it. I can't just stomach it anymore. This is going to be the first time that we've had a president elected entirely on sex scandal, because the news media hasn't touched anything in Hillary Clinton's past and present. Nothing that's come up in WikiLeaks, nothing that the Project Veritas videos have exposed about her, about the DNC, about the Clinton Foundation. The mainstream news media won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. They want to talk about Trump's sex scandals. They won't talk about Bill Clinton's sex scandals. They won't interview any of Bill Clinton's victims or accusers. And it just sucks. It just sucks so bad. I got to go on record now, and I got to say something, even if it pisses off a lot of women out there, even if you think that I'm a sexist, a misogynist, a prick, whatever. Trump's behavior towards women in the past, even in the present, it doesn't affect me in any way, and I don't care about that. It may not be nice, and it may not sound good when you hear those sound bites that they've dug up. But we're talking about comparing lewd behavior to criminal behavior, and there is a huge disparity in importance on those two categories. If Trump were elected, he would not be the first lecherous man to occupy the White House. There are lots of examples in our history of crude men who have been president, one of whom was Hillary's husband. And I don't care that Bill Clinton is not running for president, because Hillary is his enabler. She helped cover up and put an end to all of his scandals. She's dirtied the reputations of any woman who has accused him of anything. That means it's on her as well. She cannot be a champion of women's causes while defending her husband at the same time. You don't get to have it both ways. That doesn't work. So in the grand scheme of things, if Trump is a lecherous guy, in my opinion, it does not disqualify him from being president of the United States. I know that Megyn Kelly would beg to differ, because on TV last night she was saying that America needs to know if this man is a dirty guy, but at the same time, nobody wants to talk about Hillary Clinton's criminal behavior. This is also the first time in presidential election history that a candidate running for office, running for president, highest office in the land, was actually being investigated by the FBI while running for president. That wouldn't have been possible if a Republican were running for president and under the eye of the FBI. It never would have flown. And the DNC should have told her right at the beginning of the process, you got to sit this one out, Hillary. Until you resolve your issues with the FBI, you can't run for president because it's a huge distraction. But what they did in reality was they rigged the primary process so that she would be the candidate because she was chosen in advance by the DNC, headed by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I want to go over a couple of bullet points here that I have. I got some notes here. I want to discuss with you a scorecard of Clinton scandals versus Trump scandals and the importance of either or. First, Hillary Clinton ran an illicit and unlawful email server in the basement of her home. Now, I could tell you I have some professional knowledge of this because I am a computer tech by trade, and a systems administrator is something that I've done in my profession. And I could tell you that running a server in the basement of your house on a Dell desktop with a cable modem connection and a D-Link router as your firewall is certainly not safe. I wouldn't do it. And I'm not even, I don't even have access to any top secret shit like she did. She ran that server intentionally. It was an attempt to hide her doings and her dealings from the government. Because within her email server was tons and tons of proof that the Clinton Foundation crossed over into the Secretary of State's office, and that pay-for-play was something that she regularly engaged in. She didn't want this to ever be exposed or to have watchful eyes looking at it. That's why she set up a server in her basement. By comparison, Trump called Alicia Machado Miss Piggy. Next, Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails that were on her server and ran BleachBit to render the hard drive unrecoverable. This was after she was served a subpoena by the Congress to turn that over intact. That is obstruction of justice. That is tampering with evidence. That is destruction of evidence. These are crimes that anybody else accused of would go to jail for. But of course, the mainstream news media won't report on it, and Hillary gets a free pass on it. By comparison, Donald Trump was caught on tape bragging about groping women. Next, pay for play when Hillary was the Secretary of State. It's already come out through WikiLeaks that this was something that was routine. If you were a big donor to the Clinton Foundation, you got access to Hillary Clinton. That is so improper and so unprofessional and highly illegal. That and that alone she should go to jail for. Trump, by comparison, got sued by university students who didn't like the courseware and didn't become immediately rich after graduating Trump University. Anybody out there get a guarantee from your college or university that you would definitely get a good job and get rich? No school can guarantee you that. Sorry. Hillary Clinton paid millions by Wall Street banks for speeches behind closed doors, speeches she tried hard to keep secret because within those speeches is just a wealth of information about how full of shit she really is, about how she says one thing behind closed doors to Wall Street bankers and another publicly to the news media and the American people. She cannot claim that she is going to clean up Wall Street while she collects millions of dollars in speaking fees from Wall Street. There's just no way to reconcile that. It just doesn't make any logical sense. By comparison, Donald Trump has insulted Mexicans. Hillary Clinton claims to be a champion of women's causes, a general in the war on women. Yet she has taken millions and millions of dollars in donations from countries around the world that have Sharia law as their law of the land. In Saudi Arabia, women don't vote, they can't drive, they can't leave their home unless escorted by a male relative, they can't leave the country unless escorted by a male relative. They certainly cannot show their face in public. If they show even an inch of skin on their ankle bone, they could be beaten publicly by Sharia police. In Saudi Arabia and in many other countries that Hillary Clinton has received millions and millions of dollars in donations from. She cannot claim to be a champion of women's causes, not when there are millions of women around the world that are brutalized daily under the law of the land in the countries that they live in, countries that donate to Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. Hillary has acknowledged, at least behind closed doors, that she has a public policy and a private policy. Did anybody not realize this before? Hillary Clinton helped rig the Democratic primaries. That and that alone should disqualify her from even running. Rigging elections, whether they're primary elections or general elections, it's a criminal act. You've disenfranchised millions of voters in doing that. It humiliated Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She had to resign as DNC chairperson and then get immediately rewarded the same day with a job in Hillary's campaign. Nothing dirty happened there, I'm sure, right? You can't be fucking serious with that. Now, a couple other things that I want to talk about. Donald Trump's contract with America. Now, I love this. This is groundbreaking, and this is revolutionary, and this is something that we should all be talking about instead of this crap that's on the news right now. Donald Trump has promised a long list of things that he's going to execute on his first 100 days of office. I'm not going to go over all of them, but some of the big ones: constitutional amendment for term limits for Congress. Tell me we haven't needed that for a long, long time. Tell me we don't need to get rid of career politicians once and for all. That's not going to be an easy nut to crack. That's going to be a hard one. This Congress is not going to voluntarily push through an amendment that's going to unemploy most of them pretty quickly. It's going to take a convention of states to get that done. But bravo for putting that on the table. He's going to renegotiate NAFTA, NTPP, open up America's energy resources so that we can have an all of the above energy plan in this country. We could not only make ourselves energy independent, we can become an exporter of energy. We can compete directly with OPEC and sell directly to our allies and only to our allies. We should have been doing this a long time ago. He's going to undo all of Obama's unlawful executive orders. Nobody has abused executive privilege more than Barack Obama. Thousands and thousands of executive orders that were designed to circumvent the Congress and the Constitution. Every one of them needs to be looked at, examined, and undone with a new executive order if need be. He's going to end supporting and funding of sanctuary cities. This is something that should have never happened. Cities that can ignore federal law and get funded by the federal government for ignoring immigration law. That has to be. Deportation of all criminal aliens. Why has this not been done already? Why is it that we have over 2 million of our illegals in this country are criminals, gang members, drug dealers, and felons, and yet we still don't have the resolve to kick them the fuck out of our country? An end to immigration from jihadist countries, countries where we cannot vet people and determine whether they love America or hate America. This is something that we should never be letting in people who we can't vet. And it's a no-brainer that we cannot just bring people in from war-torn areas of the world without knowing who they are and what their intentions are. I want to get back to a couple of other things. Obamacare. Has there ever been a train wreck that has come about so quickly as Obamacare did? Remember the promises? It's going to save you $2,500 a year in your premiums. If you like your current plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. None of which has come true. None of which is. And when something is not true, it's a lie. Obama lied to all of us. The Democrats lied to all of us. It has just been one great big train wreck of a lie that has been perpetrated on the American people. And Hillary Clinton wants the continuance of Obamacare. It's going to go up 25% for some people this year. 25%. This was supposed to help out average Americans who couldn't afford health care. And now you're bound to it by law. You're obligated by law to pay into it, or you're going to be fined for not paying into it. Even though it's going up 25%, and you're probably going to have to do without a lot of other things, like paying your utilities, maybe putting decent food on the table or getting your rent paid on time. Couple other things. Polls. Don't believe them. I know that the polls are usually accurate, but they're not always accurate. In 1980, the Gallup poll, which was the gold standard of polling in 1980, they predicted right up until Election Day that Jimmy Carter was 9 points ahead. They said it was all but over for Ronald Reagan. Not a chance that he's going to get elected. And look at how that turned out. He won by a landslide in 1980 on Election Day. I think that people are not telling the pollsters everything. I think people are holding back, lying to them. And I think that the polls are highly inaccurate right now. They say that the size of crowds at rallies doesn't really affect the polls or Election Day. I don't know. This time out, I just can't believe that Trump could pull out crowds as big as 55,000 people who are no doubt going to vote on Election Day. And Hillary can barely get a couple of hundred people at some of her rallies. And you're going to tell me that that doesn't have an effect on the pulse of the American voter right now? I'm sorry. I think we're winning. And I think that the news media is lying to us. And the more that they tell you that this is a lost cause, the more you have to strengthen your resolve and you get out there and you vote on Election Day. Don't let them convince you to stay home, because that's what these tactics are. This is voter suppression. They want you to stay home. Don't get out there and vote on Election Day. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the GOP and how they have failed us miserably. They failed us throughout the entire 8 years of Obamanism. They never repealed anything that he put forth. They never challenged him on anything that he put forth. They allowed him to use executive order like a king issuing decrees. And we finally get a candidate who actually stands up for the people and stands up for conservative causes, the things that we have sent people to Congress to do. And the GOP doesn't want to support him. I'm tired of rhinos like Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Jeb Bush. I mean, there's an endless list of people who have failed us miserably and are not doing the right thing. If Trump loses this election, I'm going to blame them for this. Democrats don't screw their own. They don't stick a knife in the back of their own. Look at all of the illegal shit that Hillary has done, and the Democrats are still endorsing her with almost 100% endorsement levels. The number of people who have turned on Trump, refused to endorse him, refused to campaign for him in the GOP, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting beyond measure. And if Trump doesn't win, I'm going to blame all of you in the GOP who made this happen. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to leave the GOP. And I think that millions upon millions of Trump supporters are going to do the same. We make up more than half of the GOP. Never forget that in these primaries this past summer, more people voted in the GOP primaries than ever voted before. By comparison, the Democratic primaries had the lowest turnout ever before. You translate that into the general election, and I'm telling you, there's very little enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton among Democrats, and there's a very high enthusiasm for Donald Trump amongst Republicans. It's going to manifest itself on Election Day. But if we do lose, it's the end of the GOP. You're done. A new party is going to pop up in its place. It's going to split the GOP in half, and a larger share of supporters are going to leave the GOP, and you're going to wind up being the third party. And those of us who are Trump supporters, the party that we're going to build is going to be the second party. But look, we're not there yet. It ain't over till the votes have counted. Or as the Democrats might say, it ain't over till the dead people vote. And that don't happen till Election Day. So just remember, Trump in 2016, you get out there and you fucking vote on Election Day.